Welcome to the Feeder Series podcast. I am your host, Jim Kimberley, and I'm very, very, very happy to re-welcome somebody back to the show. Now, an F2 race winner. Absolutely wasn't when the last time he was on, which was a couple of years ago, racing in Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Joshua Dürksen, you have come back on the podcast, and you have come back, as we record at the moment, on the back of a race win in Australia, but it's by far not the most recent success you've had, but it's not absolutely the top success you've had. You've been smashing it since you got into F2. How are you for one, and how are you enjoying 2025?
Hey guys, first of all, thank you very much for having me here again. And it has been a really, really cool season. A lot of stuff has happened, and just really happy with everything what happened, and I hope we can continue like this the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's very early days, and we've also got the F2 editor, was F1 Academy last time you were on the podcast, Kra-Caskey. You're joining us as well, and we're in 3 different continents, I believe, at the moment. So it's a really international show. Calla, how are you doing? How are you looking forward to, the season ahead as we record at the moment, but your new role as a Formula 2 editor?
I'm doing well. I'm really excited to cover F2 this year. There is exactly twice as many race weekends as there were when I was covering F1 Academy. So that is going to be a lot more work for me this year, but I'm excited to take it on. And we've had some exciting racing so far and some prancing around in the rain, which is also brings up some fun radio moments. So I'm having a great time.
Great time. Everybody who watches Formula 2 is having a great time. I suspect the people who drive it have an even better time. Let's just get into it for 2025. I don't want to focus too much on this season. I really want to get to know the real Joshua Dürksen, and so do the audience. We asked the audience to send their questions in, and they did. I don't know the exact number, but it's probably in the billions in terms of the questions. So we'll get onto those very, very soon. But Joshua, how are things going into a second season? You had the benefit last year of a new car, which everybody had to do. So it wasn't such a dramatic difference as it might be going into a second season. We have to adapt to the car. So you had the benefit of going in alongside everybody else, learning it. How have you found it, and how is it going in now with a whole season of experience with that car?
Yeah, for sure. Last year have been a really interesting year because, like as you said, we had a new car. So this meant that all the teams had to start from zero again, from scratch, and just develop the car from the word go. For us, I think it went pretty well. I mean, of course, the first part of the season was not as good, but then the second part of the season, we were starting to fly. We were starting to find the best setup for the car and how it works the best. And for sure, this 1 year of experience helps a lot, especially now for this year, because I have knowledge already of every racetrack with this car, which is for sure a great help. For sure, other rookies entering this year, they maybe have some experience on certain racetracks already, but not with this car. So, of course, they will adapt very quickly, but I still have this little advantage of knowing exactly what to expect and how it was last year. And of course, I can fix stuff and mistakes I've done last year and not do them again this year. Australia has been a clear reference for me, where I've done quite some mistakes last year, and I was like, I'm making sure I'm not doing this again, and I didn't, and luckily I could get the win. And so for sure it's a little advantage for me, which of course I want to maximize during the whole year.
It's really interesting for me, Joshua, because you're coming in, like you say, not as a rookie this year, and there seemed to be such a clear out almost. It happens all the time, but I particularly felt it was like a big change of the guard a little bit in F2. So you really are one of the more experienced names in there. And are you finding it different? Or are you finding it strange almost that you had that situation where you leapfrogged some of these drivers and you were racing against them in Freca, and now you're racing them against them again, but in completely different machinery, because this car is so much more powerful than what you were in regional machinery. How is it racing some of these old names, new names, familiar names? How is that going for you?
For sure, really fun. I mean, as you said, there's a lot of variety in this championship. Some guys which I haven't raced before, some guys which I've raced my whole life already, and some guys which I maybe have raced once or twice. But for sure, it's really interesting because there are so many good drivers. I think this year will be more or less like last year again, where we will see at least 10 to 15 different race winners, because I think I would say basically the whole grid has potential to win races. Yeah, going from FRECA to F2, of course, it was a big step, but I could manage it well, I could adapt myself well, I could enjoy it a lot, and I think this helped me as well just to get into rhythm quicker and yeah, for sure, giving me a good position for this year.
Now, we kind of noticed that you handled it because you handled it pretty damn well last year. Calla, we saw what Joshua was capable of, but we also saw surprising, and Joshua, you'll be happy not to field this question, but Calla, I wasn't expecting AIX to be a team that we were going to be seeing repeatedly visit the top step of the podium. Very talented couple of drivers right from the get-go, Taylor Barnard as well, and Joshua Dürksen. How were you thinking AIX would do compared to how they actually went? And is it actually a good sign for the series going forwards that we've got a very strong outfit there?
AIX took over the PHM team, which the year prior had, I believe, finished 10th in the teams championship, which, so, you know, and then that's a big step to then be on the top step of the podium 3 times last year, twice with you and once with Taylor Barnard. And then I think there's kind of this unexpected trajectory that happened at the same time that you arrived from FRECA, which not a lot of people who follow, you know, F2 and F3, not a lot of those people are closely following FRECA. And so especially when you didn't get that F3 step, and AIX, when they were PHM in the year before, was kind of nowhere, scored 0 points, then I think that's like a combination that makes this season you had last year pretty unexpected, and then the season you are going into this year even more exciting.
Yeah, I think, Joshua, I don't know if you have anything to expand on that, but you've really come in and set this team up, I think, and you've consistently stayed there, which is always helpful. We've seen what's happened for a long time. Are you finding it different from Arden? Are you finding it's a chance to start afresh almost with a team that are going for a rebrand? Sure, it'll have the same people, but going through something new themselves.
No, for sure, it's totally different to my FRECA times, and it was just literally a fresh beginning for me, because FRECA was really struggling a lot, but there were some stuff which was out of our control, me as a driver and as a team. So there were stuff we could not fix, which were making us lose lap time for free a lot. This, of course, made us look really bad on the FRECA, and I needed a fresh start. But luckily, the sporting director of AIX Racing, which is Roland Rehfeldt, he was my previous team manager in Formula 4, and he knew what I was capable of. He knew what I could do, because actually at F4 I was also with not a top team. I was not even a top team, and I was still fighting against Mini, against Beganovic, against Berman, against all these guys, against Antonelli, and still, you know, sharing podiums with them and always being on the fight. But this, I think, the people just forgot because of my FRECA season. And he trusted me, and he gave me this shot for F2, and he knew that I could make it. And of course, we just had to work really hard, and we kind of, yeah, with the hard work, we managed to make a turnaround and get, for sure, a lot of points, a lot of podiums, a lot of good races. And for sure, being on an F2 environment is very different also, because it's just everything. Well, first of all, you have a lot more of data, it's a lot more technical, a lot more of you know, a lot more of stuff, which I love it, because it's always a bit more like F1, which I'm dreaming about. And so for sure, I really like this experience. And so yeah, just like with the hard work we've done as a team, we were just really evolving, and I was always feeling better the car, having a better feel. The team was understanding better the car, so this stuff was like starting to match, and I think this is what also was giving us actually this good pace, this good setup baseline, and of course the good results.
Can I ask something, Joshua? Because it's a question I've asked a few times, and it's something that's explained. Oscar Piastri, Gabriel Bortoleto, Franco Colapinto recently as well. It's the drivers coming from outside of Europe coming into what is essentially European Championship F3. Oh, it's expanding a lot, but F3 and F2. It's almost like the difficulty level is slid even higher, like on the slider. Is that something you find, like when you mention some of the names you've been up against, that you have to go and explain, for the sponsorship reasons, obviously, because money plays such a big role in this, that it's more difficult in some ways, and you've had to fight even harder, which gives you more, I don't know, resilience, something that goes onto track. Like how do you compare? I know you can't because you've never done it, but how do you compare against those European drivers with what you've had to go through compared to, say, Gabriel Meni or Daniil Beganovic?
Yeah, so for sure it's a lot tougher for us South Americans because of a simple thing, which is the power of the currency we have. You know, South America, the currency is, of course, are not as strong as the euro or the dollar. So just to get the amount of money to be able to race is already a big job, you know. And being of South America, this means we're not usually racing, or at least in my case, I was not racing go-karts in Europe, so nobody really knew me. And this, of course, makes it a lot harder to open doors to Formula 4 teams or to get my racing career started. So for sure, it's a lot tougher, but if you manage to overcome this, then it's a big benefit, because on all these years, on all this process, you just learn so much, so many more things than if you would have, let's say an easier life economically and to be paying the bills, you know. So like because you had to work so hard, you actually improved yourself, you actually found new techniques, or like you just got smarter overall, you know, and you just grow as a person. So if you manage this, then it's really a big benefit. But the sad reality is as well that nowadays it's just so expensive. It's really difficult to start from zero and being able to reach it. I got also, let's say, a bit lucky by being the only Paraguayan driver to be racing in a Formula category, because I think this also gave me more attention in Paraguay, and therefore also more opportunities to have sponsors, which then we can pay the bills. But yeah, like I said, it's really tough, but if you make it through, it's a really big benefit.
Calla, it's something I know you don't have the same ability to go and say about the sponsorship side of things, but you know as well as I do, and most of the audience, because of the audience that we have, you've got certain teams at the top of the championship that are regularly there, and then you have these drivers that somehow pull a team a lot further ahead than they, not say should be, because it's meant to be a spec series, of course, but then you'd expect. How have you felt Joshua has handled that compared to maybe if he was in a Prema or if he's in an ART?
Yeah, I mean, I think that also adds a lot of pressure, which I don't know, that's like another aspect of the pressure that comes with, you know, financial pressure, or, you know, being in an environment that you're really not used to. Because in the, you know, you hear this a lot in the Formula One context, but like how just like for lower teams or midfield teams, just that 9th place means so much in terms of, you know, the reward for the team. And obviously there's not the same constructors reward system in F2 in the same way that we're, you know, dealing with huge amounts of money in F1. But I think there is this pressure to get good results fall on the drivers, because I think, you know, at the front, when you're seeing the Premas and the other front runners succeed, there's not just a like that's where they're meant to be. It's sometimes people forget that there are these differences between the teams. So people take that as fully representative, and the results of the drivers who are, you know, further down the order with you know, a less experienced team or less competitive machinery as also fully representative, when, you know, the fact is that there is somewhat of a difference, and just because we've become used to it doesn't mean that it has, you know, disappeared entirely. So I think there is that element of pressure, to a bigger amount of pressure to kind of show your own results as like as a prove it season. And I think, you know, a lot of times we see drivers do 1 year with one of these teams and then move up to Prema, and I think it's also really cool to see what you have been doing with AAX, or, you know, there's other examples of this in the series, but staying with that team and getting the results there, I think that shows a lot of skill and a lot of resilience as well in some ways.
Yeah, foundation building, I'd call it, Joshua, and who knows where AIX go in the future. I want to get into the audience questions, and like I suggested, there's a lot of questions. But let me just go into one final thing, because it's something I noticed when I was watching the broadcast. And again, I don't want to focus on the current situation. I want this to be, who is Joshua Dürksen? But you are the championship leader, and you won the race in Australia, is what we're watching most recently. I saw on that broadcast there was a moment that you had with Lewis Hamilton before the race. Would you have a little fist bump? I was wondering what sort of advice that you gave to Hamilton, because as we're recording right now, he's just taken sprint quali pole position.
No, yeah, I gave him some tips. He was looking for me because he was like, Josh, what did I do? No, just kidding. I hope so. But it was a really cool moment with Hamilton, because it was just really coincidence that we met there, because I think Ferrari, they had like a little, I don't know, like a little event, I don't know what, but it was just like literally next to our box. And the drivers just arrived, Leclerc arrived, and then Hamilton, and one guy of my team just asked Hamilton for a handshake, and he gave it to him, and then Hamilton sees me on the background, and I was of course with the racing suit. So he knew I was a driver, And I guess kind of he recognized me because he said like, "Hey man, nice to see you again." I'm like, "Wow, okay, he recognized me." I don't know, interesting, because the last time I've seen him was in Monaco 2022 when I was racing Freca. So my theory is that maybe the F1 drivers also watch the F2 races just to know more or less how the track condition is and how the race can look like. And maybe he just saw my face in one of the podiums and he remembers me. I don't know. But it was really cool because, yeah, he was just asking me how everything was going. And I was telling him that I'm starting P2 and I'm aiming for the win. And he was just wishing me luck. And it was really cool, to be honest. Because since I have memory, he was driving already in F1. So for sure, he's quite a legend. And being able to talk to him is always cool.
I was loving that answer until you made me feel really old when you think Formula One only had Lewis Hamilton.
Well, he probably makes Lewis feel old, so I would say don't tell him that either.
Thanks, guys. That's great. Calla, we've got a lot of audience questions. Why don't you take it away? Because you're fielding, I forget the number, but it was in the 3 figures, into the hundreds, from Instagram story replies alone. I've got Discord, we've got Twitter/X, we've got Instagram comment. The questions from the audience were coming in, flooding in. Calla, why don't you take it away with a couple of questions from Instagram that Joshua can answer?
All right. I mean, a lot of people wanted to know who your closest friend in racing is. And I mean, you could say Lewis Hamilton and none of us would be able to say that's not true. But they want to know who your closest friend in racing is and in the F2 paddock.
Oh, that's a really good question. So in the Formula 2 paddock, I think it would be Pepe Marti. I think we get along really well. I mean, of course, we both speak Spanish and our cultures are quite similar. But yeah, I think Pepe, or who else is there? Pepe was the first guy that came to my mind, so I'll stay with him. And overall, in motorsport, that's also really tough because I haven't driven go-kart in Europe, so I never could build a relationship from little on with the guys. So I always had like a quick, short relationship with the guys, which I was racing with in the previous Formula categories and my former teammates. But I would say Barrichello would be also one of my top friends overall, Dudu Barrichello, because we had a really great time together in Freca, and he's also Brazilian, so we're neighbors, country neighbors, and he's really cool. And of course, I mean, my 2 Mexican guys, Santiago Ramos and Noel Leon, and we have also raced since Freca together, and usually I'm with these guys during the race weekends. When we see each other, then I'm usually with these guys.
And then in the other direction, Cam778 wanted to know, who are your biggest rivals this season? Maybe not in a personal level, but I guess how you would see that on a racing level, who your biggest rivals are this season.
There are many on the sporting side. I mean, like I said to you, just every driver is gonna be able to win races, but I think the guys that for sure will be a headache for me. I think for sure it's gonna be Martins for sure, because they have now 3 and 4 years in F2, so they know what they're doing. Mini, he was always quick, also in F4. We always had to fight a lot. Crawford, Beganovic, Lindblad is coming strong as well. So yeah, this is one of many examples I can give, but for sure at least half of the grid will be a headache for me.
I know, I have to interrupt because otherwise you'll say 21 names, so it's such a tight grid at the moment. But I loved your answer earlier. Of course, I have to do a plug. If you want to hear anything from Pepe Marti or Dudu Barrichello, listen to their podcast. They've been on as well. We love those guys, really, really friendly people. I'm going to go on to these questions from X or Twitter. This one I really liked from Shane Mark. If you could have any F1 driver past or present as a teammate, who would you choose? Because, and why I say I like this question, is because you maybe want to have like a hero so you can learn off them, but you also don't want them to beat you. So maybe you want to get somebody who wasn't so good. So you really have to weigh that up, Joe.
No, I don't mind if they're better than me. I would pick for sure one of the best drivers, because like this I can learn the most from them as well. Even if they beat my ass, I can still learn things. But who would I pick? I think I would pick Senna. I'd be really curious to see how Senna really was and really learn from him. I think that would be cool.
I think that's a very solid answer. You'll have a lot of people also saying the same. On a completely different note, Pablo, again on X, ask him, and this is what I alluded to earlier, by the way, before we started recording. Ask him, Sopa Paraguaya, which is soup, Paraguayan soup, I guess. Or, now you'll have to help me with this, Joshua, but chipaguasu?
Yeah, so between Sopa Paraguaya and Chipaguasu, actually, the Sopa Paraguaya is not a soup. It's actually something solid. It's quite similar as a cake. It
Why
just
is it
came
called
with
sopa?
the name because...
Yeah, why is it called this name? That's so confusing.
I'll tell you quickly the story. So basically, in the past, there was a woman that was cooking something, and I don't know if it was for the president in the past or something, but the president wanted a special soup. But then the woman which was cooking, she put something wrong by mistake, and then the thing came actually out solid. And then she was like, "Here's your Paraguayan soup." And he tasted it, and he loved it, and then it stayed like this, you know. So it's quite curious, quite funny.
Is this your friend, the president, or another president?
No, this was really long time ago. I was not even born in that time, so this is from a long time already. So the guy's asking me between these two dishes, what would I choose? I would choose... Actually, this is always a... by the way, just for your information as well, in Paraguay, this is like really... How do you say? Controversial question.
Are you going to lose half of your fan base by answering this question?
Probably, yeah. It's like asking Barcelona or Real Madrid, you know. But I would say my taste is always changes. But right now, I think I would say chipaguasu. How can I explain it in English? So basically, it's like not like a cake, but like let's say a salad cake. I'm just trying to give you like the image. It's like a salad cake which has some maize, has some cheese, and basically this. You need to look for it. I still have to learn how to explain this on English, but it's really good. You usually have it when you're grilling something, like when you're making a meat or something. If you're making like a steak, you always have either way sopa paraguaya or chipaguasu. You have it as a side dish, and that's really good. It's quite traditional in Paraguay.
Just had a Google of it. It's very, very interesting looking. If it didn't have cheese, I can't have cheese. But if it didn't have cheese, I'd absolutely be smashing that. It looks delicious. Sorry, Cal, I keep interrupting you with my food call. You know, it's a feeder series podcast. What are you going to talk about? Food or racing?
Well, no, I was going to bring up a different controversial question. You mentioned it, so it is your fault. But we also got this one on Instagram. So Thiago Grillins really does want to know whether you prefer Real Madrid or Barcelona.
So I predicted the next question. Crazy, okay. So I must say, before I followed a lot more football because of Messi, and on this time I was Barcelona, and because I was my whole life Barcelona, I guess I'll still support Barcelona.
You're losing more fans by the second as all the Real Madrid and Paraguay people come in.
The more question I answer, the more followers I lose.
I absolutely think that's not the case. You are such a likable guy, Joshua. I'm going to go into, well, I'll tell you the reaction we had on Discord. So I'm not ignoring it. I'm on my phone, but I'm trying to get through the ridiculous amount of Discord questions. And when we said that, well, Paraguayan goat comes up and we've got this, you can see that as a Pokemon or something with a Paraguayan flag behind. The amount of people are exciting. Hell yes. Can you win the championship, please? This one I really like from Kieran46. How did AIX manage to fit in the second turbo into your car? Because you are so rapid in the car. And then we have to ask this one because I don't think you would have answered this when you were last on the podcast, but Tia wants to know, what color is your toothbrush?
What color is my toothbrush?
It's the burning question that everybody wants to know the answer to.
So my toothbrush color right now is light blue and white.
Light blue and white. So you're quite close to the flag almost. Just need to put a bit of red on.
That's a random question.
Let me go with this one as well. This is from Trimmer Gademan. How recognizable are you now back home in Paraguay? And in general, how large is the support from Paraguay? I know the answer to the second question because the amount of questions we got when we said you're on the podcast, but what's it like from maybe 5 years ago when you were in Paraguay to compared to now?
It's totally different. I mean, no joke. Since last year mid-year, I literally right now, every time I go out to a public space, at least some people recognize me and ask me for pictures. So it's literally everywhere. Everywhere where I go to a public space, at least somebody would recognize me, which was for sure not like this before. So in Paraguay, yes, I think I grew a lot mediatically, and I think that people know me already. So it's really funny because basically every time I go out to a place, I feel observed. I can somehow like feel the energy of people looking at me. But in Europe, it's really chill. I'm just for the Europeans, I'm like just another normal guy, you know. Literally nobody recognizes me in Europe. But in Paraguay, yeah, it's starting to grow a lot, and for sure. Comparing to 5 years ago is totally different because 5 years ago nobody knew me. So yeah, it's quite a big step up in Paraguay.
When did it change? Like, was it? I know you're not there all the time because of the long distance flight, but was it after when you first got announced to do F2? Was it after you've done a few races? Was it after the victories? Like, when did you? Again, I don't know how often you're back there, but when did it start to really ramp up? When did you notice? Oh my God, people are starting to ask for photos, selfies, autographs.
So it was starting slowly already in Freca. I mean, then some people knew me already, some people were recognizing me already on the streets, but where it started really, like, where they were recognizing me everywhere was since basically the F2 announcement. And where it started to explode was, of course, after the Baku win and even more after the Abu Dhabi win. So yeah, it's really funny because even on the streets, you know, I'm driving, I'm stopping on a traffic light, and then sometimes I just hear from the side people screaming like Joshua. Then I'm like looking, and then we got, and then I feel like, oh, okay, now I have to drive 100% correctly, no mistakes, just to keep my reputation clean, you know. So yeah, it started to go quite crazy after the Baku win, and then even more after Abu Dhabi win.
It sounds like the newspaper headline just could be Joshua Dürksen didn't use his indicator correctly or something. It's just like being so under the spotlight.
I'm
feel
really
like
taking care
I
of
would
all
like
this
it, but I wouldn't like it at the same time. Is it weird for you?
Yeah, so it depends. Sometimes it's a really good thing, sometimes not a very good thing. Like, for example, I will come back to the food topic. Sometimes it's good because like I'm going to a restaurant, and of course the treatment the people from the restaurant give you is quite special, you know, like it's a special treatment. And sometimes they even like give me the food for free, stuff like this, which is of course really cool. But some other times it's not as cool because maybe you feel too observed all the time. You don't feel like you have your privacy, and yeah, you just feel like the people are analyzing everything you do, even how you're breathing. So everything in life has its pros and its cons. Yeah, it's still cool. I mean, I'm literally living my dream, so I can just be thankful, and I can't even complain by a million years.
All right, this one's related. Almandoana on Instagram asks, during the season, what do you miss most about Paraguay?
I would say, especially my family and my closest friends. And for sure, just the Paraguayan culture, because people in Paraguay are extremely nice. They're just always so happy, so kind. It's like you can be best friend with random people in 5 minutes. We are generally very open and very kind. We always help each other and stuff like this. So it's just the atmosphere, you know, just the feeling of being in Paraguay is sometimes what I miss. But for sure, the most my family, also the steak. The steak in Paraguay is extremely good, and I miss those times.
And I got another question. This one was in Spanish, but I'm not gonna put you through my Spanish accent, so I translated
Calla,
this
you're gonna
one.
have to do it. You're gonna have to do it, Calla. Go on.
Unfortunately, I translated it, and I only have the English version.
That's very convenient.
So I know, escaped. This one's from Ivmont21, and it says, "How does it feel to be such a source of pride for our country?" And I guess for me, like, do you think about that? Does that add more pressure, or is that something that motivates you?
Yeah, so for sure it's something really cool, really special. Of course, I feel really honored and privileged to be me, the guy representing Paraguay and having this chance of racing Formula 2 and, like I said before, you know, living my dream. But I think what people tell me most of the time is I really don't realize how big the influence really is in Paraguay, you know, like people just, yeah, I always feel like, okay, I mean, okay, I'm racing Formula 2, I'm living my dream, but I don't feel like a superstar, or I don't feel like I'm like an astronaut or something special, you know. I'm just feeling like I'm living my dream, but I'm still a normal person. But people, my closest people always tells me like, Josh, you're literally not realizing how big of an influence it's doing in Paraguay, you know, and how special it is for the Paraguayan people and how they're supporting you. So I think I can like kind of realize it, but not fully like it really is. But yeah, like I said, I'm just really thankful for the opportunity I have, and I'm just trying to maximize it, and of course make the people of my country happy.
I've got a question here again on X from Mateus Macedo, and in football, soccer, Calla, I'll translate for you. You've got.
Thank you, that was helpful.
But in football,
My American brain can't comprehend.
there's such a rivalry between nations, but I feel like it's not necessarily the same, especially on the junior ladder in racing. Then so Mateus is asking, how does it feel to have the support of every South American nation, especially of Brazilians who don't have a corridor this year in the category, like another representative? Are you feeling, obviously when you get to Paraguay, you're getting recognised, you're having the supporters, but I felt it with seeing Franco, with seeing Gabriel before, that the South American continent seemed just to support anybody there. Like, and if it was Argentina versus Brazil in football, very, very different story. Does it feel just a generally supportive thing from anybody who's South American now?
Yeah, for sure. I feel the support of whole South America. Like you said, Argentina and Brazil are also supporting me a lot, especially because right now I'm the only one in Formula 2. So Bortoleto went to F1, Colapinta's reserve driver in F1. So I'm left behind alone in F2. And just like then the Argentinian people and the Brazilian people just say, okay, I mean, we've got only the Paraguayan driver now in F2, so let's support him. And it's really cool. It's really special because Argentina and Brazil are also like an extremely big country. A lot of people, a lot of population, a lot of passionate people about sports in general. Yeah, like I said to you, I think I don't mention how big the support is in generally in South America.
Let me go off something, a very lovely answer, by the way, but I've got really important questions here from Sneck on Discord. If you were an ice cream flavour, which flavour would you be and why? Just to really do a 180.
I think I would be, there's a flavour which is called in Spanish Tramontana, which is actually my favorite one. It's like a mix of how do you say, vanilla ice cream with I don't know if you guys have heard about dulce de leche.
Mm-hmm. I have.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's a mix of these two flavors, you know. So it's basically vanilla ice cream with this dulce de leche. Or for the people that doesn't know about this, the most similar thing to dulce de leche would be more or less like caramel. So it's more or less like a mix of these two, and I love that. It's really my favorite one. It's just great.
It might be a favorite, but they want to know why that would be your ice cream. Why you'd be that ice cream flavor? Not what are your favorite. Not what is your favorite ice cream flavor. Which flavor would you be if you were an ice cream flavor, and why?
Yeah, so I would be this flavor because it's the best tasting flavor. So I can say I'm the best tasting ice cream ever. You know.
I can't complain, Calla. I'm speechless. He's done me. Calla, how about Instagram? Have we got any more questions over there? I know we do, but have you got any more ready for us?
We got a couple more. Now these will suddenly feel really intense, I guess. Well, they're just not ice cream. Let's see. Mateus Jagabowski wants to know, what's the best race in your career outside of F2?
No, okay, wow. Best race outside of F2, I think it must be... I think it would be the first race that came to my memory. I think it was Hockenheim 2020 in Formula 4. I was starting from pole, and I just remember I had real big pressure behind me of Gabriele Mini. We were flat out all the time, and he was all the time in my mirrors. I just close all the time, and me and him, we were gone, and we had like a 5-second gap to the P3 or something, or 6-second gap. And I remember he tried once to overtake me in the hairpin. We touch. His suspension broke. Mine was almost broken. Like my suspension was bended, you know, my steering was bended. So I was basically going on the straight line, just like 45-degree steering angle. And there were still like 5 laps to go. And I just had to push so hard. And then Crawford and Johnny Edgar were coming behind me. I just managed to win the race, I think by 3/10 or 4/10, but because Crawford was already on my back. And it was just the last lap, and I was so stressed, so nervous, because like, I mean, I was flat out all the race. I was leading the whole race, and then with a crash, I almost retired, and then I had to cross the finish line on P1 with a bent steering wheel, which of course made me lose a lot of performance. And I don't know why, but I think this was just a really cool race, and I think my favorite one of the past.
Okay, you mentioned some really big names, and some of them who are competing against you right now. So Crawford and Mini, obviously. And Britos.Nico wants to know, have you ever thought you would win multiple races in F2 and have the success you've had despite not entering as one of those big names?
So for sure I was not expecting to have wins and podiums this early on my F2 stage, especially last year. I mean, like I said to you, like my honest and let's say realistic target was maybe in the second half of the season start to be on the top 10 and to scoring points. And actually, on track, let's say I scored my first points on the second race weekend, which was in Jeddah. I mean, I finished P9, but then I got a penalty, so but on track it was P9, let's say. And then my first podium came on the round 4, which was on Imola. And then my first, and then my second podium in Monza, and then my first race win in Baku, and then another one in Abu Dhabi, which led me to enter the top 10 on the final standings. So for sure, I was not expecting success this early in my F2 career stage, let's say. But for sure, I was expecting that at some point I would have it, because I know I was capable of, and I just was like, okay, it's a new car, I'm new to the team, and the team had a really tough season the previous year, so I was like, okay, we're gonna build up something, and for sure for the second year we will start to be competitive. But actually everything moved earlier, you know, so we started to be competitive from the second half of the season already. So it surprised me just the timing. I know we would have success, but I didn't know that this early already, and I'm really glad that we had this early, because this puts us now in a really great position to be fighting the championship this year.
I'd love to hear this sort of stuff. And can I say, I had Bortoletto on the podcast 2 years ago, and I remember speaking to him, and the difference he was from the previous time I spoke to him when he was in Freca, similar to yourself. And I know just both of you self-assured, measured, very, I don't know, it's confidence without arrogance, which is a really difficult line to kind of walk across. And it's really good to see you're very, very similar to that. And I feel it's just, you're becoming your own person. And well, we've seen where Gabrielle is now. That could be the same for you. I'm really conscious though, before we go into a big long list of questions, because there's a lot, that we've had you on for almost an hour, especially with some technical hiccups before we started recording. And I want to just wrap up with these questions. These weren't from Discord. They were from William Alatalo, and he asked a question. 2019 Formula 4 Red Bull Ring race, you crashed into your teammate Zanotti. Was it on purpose or by mistake?
William, that's a great guy. Rally Talo, we used to call him. He was my teammate in F4 2019. And no, first of all, I have to clarify, I did not crash into my teammate. It was a racing incident. What happened, basically, my teammate, he lost the control of the car on the last corner in Red Bull Ring, and I was right behind him. My teammate Zanotti was actually spinning, and I was trying to avoid him, and it looked like the car was spinning to the inside, you know? But then suddenly, like, the car was spinning, and then suddenly it stopped, and it was starting to roll to the outside, and I was trying to avoid to the outside. Then I see the car coming to me, and then actually we crash, and then it sends me to the wall, you know, and his suspension was broken. It's just really funny. It was a funny question. But yeah, so to clarify, I did not crash into him. I was trying to avoid, and then like sadly we crashed.
Well, I'm glad you like this question, because there are two more quick ones we can just whiz through. This one, 2019, starting on pole for the UAE race in Dubai. What happened there? And give me context, because I don't know.
I mean, I've started many times on pole position in the UAE Championship.
2019, so this one was specifically.
Yes, and in 2019 I started many times on pole.
So I'm sorry you were so good at qualifying. I wasn't aware of your prowess in the UAE.
So can I ask who asked this question?
This is William Alatello. All of these questions we're ending with
Alatalo, all right.
Billy Boy
okay,
Alatalo.
Okay, wait. Knowing Alatalo, okay, I think I know what he means.
Okay.
I think it must be. I remember I had one start on pole position, which was really bad, and probably Alatalo means this one.
I'm guessing he would be, yes. No.
Yeah, I think so. So basically, it was Abu Dhabi. I think race 2 or something. I was starting from pole, and basically, I was coming into the grid, and usually in Formula 4, what I was doing is I was putting neutral first, waiting until the cars stop, and then I put first gear, no? But on this time, I didn't know that, like, if you stop, you put neutral, and then you put first gear again, you will never have issues, because, like, let's say the gearings are always on sync, you know, because you stop like this, you disengage, and it engages again. But on this time, I was rolling into my grid position, and while rolling, I put neutral. So what happened? The guys stopped. In theory, I put first gear on, and I was looking at the lights. I was revving, and then lights went off. I released the clutch, but the car was not moving, and I was actually on neutral. The gears didn't engage properly because I disengaged when I was rolling. So then basically it was not engaging. So then I was like expecting. I was waiting. Go. Nothing happened. I'm like, what? And then I stopped the start, and then of course I was at the back. But I guess alla talent this situation.
You know what I like the most, Joshua? You've done, going to quickly whiz through the numbers here. You've probably done about 150, if not 200 races in Formula cars, and you still remember like the specifics of some of these races, which really makes me laugh. This again from William Alatalo, again, previous podcast guest and a brilliant guest as well. Who is a better engineer, your current one or Ralf Druckenmuller? Again, I need some context.
Can we finish the podcast here?
Just because you've been such a good sport and everything, Joshua.
No. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. I will be answering.
You had the act. I mean, I'm not going to cause any beef, but you had the opportunity.
I will. No, it's. Oh, William. I will also do tricky questions to William next time. No, so both of my engineers are really great. I think they are great in different areas. Ralf Druckenmuller, he was basically my engineer in the Formula 4 times. So my 3 years in Formula 4, he was my engineer. He was extremely good on the driver coaching, let's say. So he really teach me a lot how to drive a Formula 4 car. So all the basic techniques and how I should drive and this and this. And he also showed me really a lot, like how the mechanics of a Formula 4 works, like how the suspension works, anti-roll bar, ride height, camber, caster, all of this stuff. So he was a really great, let's say, teaching engineer. He taught me a lot. He taught me all the basic knowledge I must have to succeed in Formula racing. So I really learned a lot with him. So he was really great. And my current engineer in F2, Bruno, he's also exceptional. He is extremely good. But for sure in F2, you know that the engineers are more focused on performance and on the car than on the drivers, because they think, okay, if you're in F2, you must know how to drive. So they don't focus anymore as much on the driving as in Formula 4 times where you really need to learn how to drive. So Bruno, he's extremely good on the technical side, on set up the car, on fine tuning the car, on understanding what I need and putting that into the car. So it's two different ways, but both engineers have been really great, extremely good. And with both of them, I've loved to work, and I love to work with them right now. So it's two different categories, but both have been extremely good.
You should be a politician with answers like that. That was very, very delicately handled. So well done, Joshua. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everybody, for the ridiculous amount of questions. Obviously, we couldn't get through all 6 billion of them, but we got through a lot, and hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. Thank you, Calla, for coming on. First time as your F2 editor, as our F2 editor, should I say. So I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot from you throughout the season. And thank you, everybody, for watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify. If you are watching on YouTube, please drop a like on the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. All really helps us out. We've just hit 3,000 subs on YouTube, just hit 70,000 subs on X. So we are growing very rapidly. If you are following on X and not on YouTube, please do it. That'd be really good. It'd help us out a lot. And if you are listening, leave a review on the podcast platform you're listening on. It's greatly appreciated. Finally, check out feederseries.net for more Feeder Series insight, and follow Feeder_Series and FS Americas on X and Feeder Series Net on Instagram. You can find the links to all of those, plus where to find everyone in this episode in the YouTube description or the podcast show notes. Until next time, we have been the Feeder Series podcast. Goodbye.